This is a presentation from the Supernaut Network.
Welcome to the Imaginarium, the show where art, technology, and creativity intersect and combine to forge a conversation that can only be found in the Imaginarium. I'm your host, Scott Colbert, and today we have two guests. First up is filmmaker, producer, and author Kurtz Frausun. Hi, Kurtz. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
And our other guest is Jon Hargis, who is one of the people that is involved and is the star of Kurtz's documentary. So, welcome to the show, Jon.
Thank you.
Now, Kurtz, where did the idea for Candid Love come from?
Well, actually, it came about in a way I usually don't create films. Jon reached out on Facebook to a cinema group saying that that he and his partner had been going through some stuff and some big things were coming up, and he wanted to capture it. So he looked for availability to see who was out there, and I said, "Hey, I'm down. Well, what do you got? What's the story?" And it grew from there.
Jon, what made you want to reach out and tell your story?
At first, I wanted to start out and do episodes and do a pilot and see if we could release it onto a network somewhere. We started filming, and as we were filming, it turned into a documentary. But what made me decide to want to do it, I guess really the relevance of the hard knocks of an LGBT relationship. I just felt like there were a lot of people that kind of went through the same situation that I was going through, and I really wanted to capture it on film and kind of show people that, hey, people go through this stuff, The thought of it was just it being relevant and capturing what a lot of relationships in the LGBT community go through, and it was a rough ride, for sure.
Well, I have to tell you, when I watched Candid Love a couple of weeks ago, it was really absolutely devastating to me. I related to you specifically, Jon, because I went through a relationship very similar to that a few years ago, and it really brought back a lot of those emotions. And how hard was it for you to be as honest as you were in front of a camera, knowing that everybody's going to see your quote-unquote dirty laundry?
Well, me and Daniel were not shy to releasing our dirty laundry on social media. We would go back and forth. When something would happen, he would report it to Facebook, and his family and his friends would attack me, and I tried not to do it, but there was one time I just said, screw it, and I started releasing some other stuff on Facebook about him, and it was just a back and forth thing. So me and Daniel had talked about doing this film, and we had no problem whatsoever putting ourselves out there. We really don't care what people think. It was our situation. It was our decision to go ahead and do this. So it was pretty easy to make the decision to put ourselves out there like that. And we honestly don't care what people think. The main thing that we wanted people to grab from it was the hardships of relationships in this day and age, because it's not like what it used to be,
No, that's for sure. And I told Kurtz after I had seen it that it was probably the most authentic and portrait of gay men that I've ever seen. Now, and I know you said that you didn't really care about what other people said, but what about your family? Did they have any issues with it?
I've sent it to a few of my families. They really did not respond on it. They support it, but they can't watch it. I can barely watch it sometimes. It takes me back to that time,
So how are things now?
Okay, so right now, me and Daniel are,
is he in Wisconsin?
Yeah, he's in Wisconsin right now. He's living with his mom right now, and he's looking for a job. He hasn't really hit a job yet, so he's stressing out and struggling with that. And of course, the alcohol, he's still somewhat struggling with that, which I'm glad that he's honest with me about that. Right now, me and him have categorized it separated but exclusive. We're separated right now, and we're just trying to get our things together and get our lives together. And we talked about it, and we plan to maybe if we get things together and we work on ourselves, and we get back to a point where we can be whenever we first met. And I mean that's not likely going to happen because that doesn't really happen. You don't get back to that point because there's so much history already there and it's the damage there. But the love that we had for one another, and, you know, we realized that when we were separated and he moved up to Wisconsin. And so we plan to move back in with one another once he finds a job somewhere and once he gets his stuff together and once he quits drinking and once I get my stuff together. And so that's where we're at right now. As far as that happening, it's really uncertain. I don't know what's going to happen.
Kurtz, you did something interesting in the documentary. Towards the end, you actually went on camera yourself, and you were questioning whether, you know, what your motives were. Well, what made you want to do that?
You know, I said it's just like I had said in the when I was on camera. I was trying to. Yeah, I started this going, hey, I want this could be a great story. Let's capture this. And I love adventure in film. I love grabbing my camera going, something is happening over there. Let's see what we can do. And I found that I've made other films. I made a film called Peacock, another one called Words of the Damned. I make a lot of experimental and kind of unusual movies. And this is the first time I've been in a film where I was dealing with the reality of, I guess you could say, the human condition. Because I suddenly found myself changing. And we shot this in a period of about 2 weeks or so. And it was quite interesting how fast it had changed and happened. I mean, for myself, it was like the Stanford experiment where, you know, there are prisoners and then there are guards. And suddenly I felt myself with a guard with a camera capturing this, and I had sort of lost myself in that process. And so I wasn't even going to put that in the original film, and I was thinking about it more and more. I was like, this needs to be in here because they're revealing themselves and their vulnerabilities. I need to reveal myself. And it was especially a powerful story for me because there was one time where Daniel says, have you ever loved someone but you knew you couldn't be with them? And I had just recently gotten out a relationship that ended, and it ended for that reason. And it was very, very, very powerful for me. And it hit me at a very core level because I loved her very much, but we knew we were too different and just couldn't be. So I was witnessing. I mean, there were times I thought to myself, it's almost like I'm watching them express exactly what I just went through months ago. So it was especially intense for me.
Well, and that's interesting because you were with you're straight and you were covering a gay relationship, and there's absolutely no difference between the two as far as the feelings go.
That's exactly how I saw it. I mean, I've been a huge supporter of the LGBT community for a very long time. And, you know, I've never been one of those guys who's been like, well, you know, I'm not gay, but he sure is cute. You know, I don't give a shit about that. Sorry, can we swear?
You can swear. You can say whatever you want.
Oh, okay, cool. Good.
Over here,
the use of the word fuck is encouraged, so you're fine.
Sweet. All right, good, because there are times I've done radio interviews, I'm like, oh, fuck, did I swear? Shit, sorry, fucking hell. But no, it was just, I mean, to me, I just think the whole concepts of traditional masculinity and heterosexuality are absolutely fucking absurd. And, you know, if you can sit there and you can admire a man for who he is and his beauty, or if you can sit there and go, wow, this is a relationship, and gay, straight, bi, trans, hey, it's beautiful. That's how it is. It's love. And it's not just, you know, it's not categorized. It just is what it is. And they could relate to me and I could relate to them. It was just really badass.
Jon, did you have any concerns that, you know, somebody who was straight may not cover your relationship the way that it should be?
Matter of fact, you know, I saw before, when I'd asked him to do the film, I saw a couple of his films that were released. When I watched them, I just had full confidence that he would be okay with it. I mean, some of his films would be, so, and it's definitely out there. So I had no, like, the thought in my mind that, am I worried about a straight guy capturing my gay relationship, and you know, is he going to capture it the right way? Is he going to judge me for it? Like, that never crossed my mind at all. He looked at me like I was a human being, and I was totally comfortable with it.
And I've seen some of your films, Kurtz. I watched Peacock, and I watched some of your music videos, and you certainly have a unique style.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
I mean that as a compliment. That wasn't, being polite. Unique for me is a good thing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. To me, I just see something and I think, hey, that's a hell of a cool idea. Why not do it? And it's like, nobody will like it. Everybody will like it. I don't care. I just want to capture it for what it is, And it's like why I started making music or writing books. It was because I looked and went, I'm not seeing what I think would be really cool to see. So I'm going to make that. And so that's how I started with film. I finished the process of creating in various stages of art and of music, and then it grew from there. So I love taking risks at all times.
Was there ever a time when you were filming Candid Love that you just kind of, I just can't do this, or it's not working, or what the fuck did I get myself into?
Hey, the third one, yeah. Well, I mean, like John was saying, we really wanted to start this out as kind of a TV series, and just sort of a day-to-day life, capturing everything. And frankly, what you see on camera is 100% the truth, and it happens so fast that I had a heart-to-heart with John and just said, look, man, you don't have 13 episodes here, 25 minutes long each. We got to wrap this up fast because we're turning this into a documentary because it's literally from okay, let's start filming to, wow, I think we're done, was like 2 weeks. And it was just absolute whirlwind. There were times that I sat there and I was like, what the hell direction is this going? It was at that moment that I really thought to myself, who needs direction? I'm not directing. They are the ones that are expressing. I'm just there to capture it. And to go back to what we had been talking about before, that was the reason why when I videotaped myself and put that on the film, because I was sitting there going, I'm kind of getting lost into this paparazzi. Yeah, get that on film. Make sure oh my God, that's happening. Let's record that. And then I was like, wait, these are human fucking beings. Like, gay, straight, bi, trans doesn't fucking matter. These are human beings. And, it was a big wake-up call. So I had a number of wake-up calls, and a couple of times I had to go home and just, frankly, do a couple of shots of whiskey and just forget about I was like, oh God, this is like watching my relationship break up before me.
Oh God, I mean, if you were in the apartment with me and Daniel, I mean, you could just feel this draining, just dark energy. It was just like there was so much tension, and I felt it for a long time, and I put up with it for as long as I could, and I want to say something, and it's sad, but sometimes moving on with the rest of your life starts with goodbye.
It's true. It is true. That's the realization that I came to in my last relationship, and it was probably one of the most painful yet most profound things that I've ever had to come to grips with.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to go for that you went through that pain, but that realization is quite beautiful, though, in many ways. You just sort of come to those terms.
Here's the thing. Growing up, nobody ever prepares you for relationships. Schools should really kind of teach you how to interact with people rather than doing calculus. Because when you're thrown out in the world relating to people, relationships are the hardest fucking thing in the world.
That's true, and they affect everything else. It's like what you go to work with someone, or it's like there's your coworker, and it's like, what's wrong? It's like, my wife and I are fighting, or my husband and I are fighting, or It's like it affects everything
and
everyone around you, and we've seen those relationships where it's like, oh God, here comes so and so talking about their boyfriend. Like, oh.
John, was there ever a point where you thought about just ending the filming?
No, I was dedicated to finishing it. I was so dedicated. So me and Daniel, there was one time in the video, the day that I got kicked out, and Daniel actually called the cops on me, and I had ended up calling Kurt about that, and that's whenever he brought up, he's like a wounded animal, if you remember that part.
Yes.
But I called Kurt, and I was getting kicked out that day. Daniel told me I have 10 minutes to get my shit and get out, or else he's calling the cops. Well, he ended up calling the cops because I couldn't get my shit out within 10 minutes. You know, I had a TV, I had a bunch of shit in there. And so I had called my family. My family came, and it took them an hour to get there, and the cops were already there. And I ended up getting a paraphernalia charge for a weed pipe. That cost $250, you know. So, I mean, I suffered the consequences that night. For what? I don't know, other than the fact that he was drinking. So I had ended up leaving that night and getting all my shit out. And then I started seeing Daniel over the days because, you know, he knew, all his friends deserted him down here. Nobody wanted to be around him. And, you know, there were times when I would watch the video and I look at his face and I'm like, wow, this is the most depressing fucking person I've ever fucking And I don't mean that in a bad way. He's probably going to hear this because I'm going to share it with him. But you know, and I love him to death. Like, the love is there. It's obviously there. We still text. But I had moved out, and I was going back over there a couple days. And when I went back over there, you know, basically, Kurt gave me a what do you call it, a toss cam. It's a small little can that shoots in high definition. And the majority of it was basically caught on that cam because, you know, Kurt has a job during the day, and so I had to pick up the camera and do the rolls, and well, not the rolls, but I had to roll the camera when shit was happening. When I was going over there, I'm getting to your question. I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling. Whenever I go over there after he kicked me out, you know, I was like, look, we got to conclude this. Like, I am determined to finish this. You promised me you do it. You know, there was one time where it was like, I'm not signing your fucking waiver. He did sign the waiver. Get that on record. But yeah, he did sign the waiver, and I was definitely determined to get it done, taken care of, and finish it. And I knew it had to end, and I'm glad it ended where it did, and me and Daniel are still talking. We're still saying I love you, good night. Yeah, I was dedicated to getting this done.
What was it about Daniel that attracted you to him when you first met? Where did that spark come from?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, me and him were in a bad spot together. Like, he didn't have a job at one point whenever I first met him. He just got robbed. Before I had met him, I sent him a message on, you know, a dating website. For some reason, it's really so hard to explain how it happened. Stuff like that happens. It happened. It's almost like it was just destiny for it to happen. I texted him saying, hey, you can come stay over here. I know you're not feeling safe. Why don't you come stay with me? He was like, no, but you can come over this week. I got to stay here because I need to make sure that none of my other stuff gets stolen. And so I went over there the next day, and we just laughed. We talked. We held each other. He held me all night, and, you know, it was just, we talked so much. I mean, we talked probably about everything and anything that night, and we were polar opposites, but for some reason there was something that was attracting us, and maybe it was, you know, I wasn't happy at that point either in my life, and I'm assuming he wasn't either. I don't think I've ever really seen him happy, but it might have been the cliche of misery loves company.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
What did you learn about yourself going through this, John?
I think what I learned is that sometimes love can make you definitely lose yourself, but at the same time, it can help you find yourself. I was questioning my motives. I was questioning my belief system at one point, because the Daniel belief system, I am spiritual. I'm not religious, but I am spiritual. Daniel is atheist. I definitely had to look towards my inner self and my higher self the most to help me get through some of those nights. There was one night in particular that I wish would have been put on film because it was so fucking crazy. It looked like it was straight up out of a horror movie. It looked like it was out of a horror movie. Lights were flickering. The tension was so high. He was drunk, and he would not let me get my dog that night. And so it really made me question, like, what do I believe in? Like, who am I? Like, what do I make of myself out of all this? Like, how do I let this go when I'm so fucking attached to it? And so really, I guess it taught me to trust my inner self and really listen to my intuition and go with what my intuition says from now on. And, you know, if something like this happens again in my life, you know, I know next time call it quits right when it happens. Like, I can't go through that again. I just can't. I cannot put myself through that again. It was hard enough that time. It's going to be hard enough again, and I just can't do that anymore in a relationship like that. Like, I almost got to the point where I'm like, I will not date a person if they drink every day. Like, I'm fine with a couple drinks, like maybe one drink, even one drink a day is fine, but the way he drinks, I can't do that again. And so it's like me and Daniel have been talking. Basically, you know, if he gets his alcohol under control and he gets a job and we end up moving in together again, and if he starts that drinking up, I'm out of there. So it taught me to listen to my inner self, go with my intuition, and I don't deserve that kind of abuse, and I don't need to put myself through that kind of abuse. I wasn't a saint in the relationship either, trust me. There were things that I've done to Daniel. I will say that I am not justified in what I did to him and the things that I have said to him, but neither is he. We're both in the wrong on this. We both came out losing in this. And now my life's changed, and I'm doing things that I never thought I would do.
Like what?
Knew you were going to ask. I got a job basically being a male dancer, so, and he knows about it. I'm a stripper.
Kurtz, what about you? I mean, you spent a lot of time with Jon and Daniel, and you said earlier that it reflected on a relationship that you had just gone through. What did you learn about yourself going through this process?
Well, I've never done a documentary. Pardon me. I've never done a documentary, and I thought to myself, well, you know, this is a new experience. I'm the kind of person that, as a filmmaker, you know, my first film was really trippy experimental. Pardon me. Trippy experimental out there, and then I wanted to make something a little bit more accessible. Then I made some short films, and I made some music videos. I want to do a little bit of everything. I especially wanted to do something with the LGBT community, but combined also with a documentary, so this was a great opportunity. So I kind of went in with this gung-ho spirit of, yeah, kick ass, and then it's almost like a soldier going to war. I was like, you know, singing the songs and marching forward with my camera, and then all of a sudden I was in the trenches and went, wow, this is really hitting home pretty hard. And like I said, you know, you find yourself suddenly becoming this paparazzi kind of piece of shit, where you're like, oh, that sucks that you're crying and all, but if you could get that on film, that'd be awesome. You know, and it's like I used before the Stanford prison experiment. It's so quick to become a guard or to become a prisoner, and you just fall right into that. And I use the camera as the ability to keep that distance between the subject and the one to record it. But it was quite quickly, you start to delve into that, the deeper, and I would say darker, for lack of a better term, side of it. It taught me a lot about myself. I always thought I would distance myself from that kind of attitude, and I didn't realize how quickly I would fall into it.
Yeah, there was a couple times where I had to apologize to Kurt for putting him through this.
And there were a couple of times I came home and from speaking to a friend, and she'd be like, how was your shoot? And I was like, I'm going to talk to you about that in about an hour. I got a gin and tonic waiting for me. I need to kiss and make out with, and then I'll talk to you.
One of the things that I found interesting, and I'm glad that Jon is here because I want to ask him about this. We meet Daniel about halfway through the documentary, and when we see him, he talks about his relationship. He'd been married to a woman. He had a straight relationship and kind of denying his sexuality throughout the years. And he referred to her as the love of his life. How much of that do you think entered into the problems that you had in your relationship with him maybe not being able to let go of that?
All the fucking time. Are you kidding me? I mean, seriously. Like, it was always like, oh my God, it was almost once a week he would bring up his exes. He talked about how much he lost in it and that he really loved her and that he got nothing out of it. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie, like the way she did him was pretty dirty. But at the same time, I mean, I had talked to him, and when he would watch porn, he would watch gay porn. He would never watch straight porn. I want to say that he was definitely a closeted gay. He grew up. I'm younger than him. I'm about 10 years younger than him. And so whenever he was growing up in his day and age, it's harder to come out like in the 90s and stuff. It's harder to say that, oh, I'm gay. But, he did meet this girl, and like he says in the video, that was his chasing Amy. And I do believe that. I mean, I've spent a lot of time with him talking to him about that past relationship. But yeah, it was a struggle all the fucking time because he's not the type of person that can just let go and accept. Like, he can't. And that's obviously shown. And so it brought up a lot of tension between me and him. And there was another ex that got involved. It was just a fucking mess. Like, and it was only 1 year. Like, this was something that happens in at least a 2 or 3 years time span. No, this all happened in 1 year, and he has never let go of any of his exes, just like right now he's not letting go of me. And I'm vice versa too, though. I'm not letting go of him either. When I love somebody, I love somebody. And if I find a way to make it work, I find a way to make it work. I'm not a quitter. I am dedicated to the things that I do in life. I was doing him, so, I was dedicated to him. But yeah, I was dedicated to it all, and previous relationships definitely got in the way a lot. There were things that he would resent me for what his exes did. He couldn't let it go, and he thought I was going to do the same thing. I remember getting with him. The very first thing he said to me is, I never give up on the people that I get in a relationship with. I believe in what he would make acronym. He made an acronym for it, and he gave it to all his other exes, and I should have known better than that. But TTA, today, tomorrow, always. Obviously, that never happened. And I was like, dude, you totally just broke your promise to me that it was you and me forever. And I feel like a lot of that was definitely because he couldn't let go of things that happened in his past with his exes, and it built up resentment for basically anybody that he gets in a relationship from here on out. It's definitely mentally fucked him. I think he has PTSD from a lot of his relationships for sure.
And I think maybe an issue for him as well as I noticed you had support from your friends. We see two of your friends in the movie. One scene, you're smoking a bowl with her, and she's debating on what to do in the relationship, and she was pretty much. It seemed like she'd heard this all before, and she's like, "Just leave them. No, get on with your life. Go."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know hindsight is always 20/20, but do you wish you had listened to her at that point?
No. She reminded me of somebody that didn't support me. Honestly, I think her intentions were good. I think that she had the greatest intentions for me, and she wanted to see me do better than that. But I think that, and I do consider her a real friend and a true friend, and I must leave her name anonymous. But I do consider her a real friend and a true friend. But at the same time, somebody that is your true friend, and that they're going to support your decision no matter what. Like, no matter what the fuck you decide, they're going to support it, and they're not going to try to put their 2 cents in it to just break it off, because obviously that's not what I wanted to do. I think that what she should have done was be more supportive, and I think that she should have respected my decision and not try to talk me out of it. But I do think that she had the best intentions. Now, Shayna, the other friend that's on there, and she's a a guy, but she's a she. She would say, you know what, John, this is your decision. You've got to learn, and she's been in prison for 5 years, so she had a lot of insight on things like this and fucked up situations. I mean, she's been through it more than what I've been through. God, I wish cameras were on her. But she would always tell me, she was like, John, this is ultimately your decision. This is something that you've got to decide, and whatever you decide, I'm going to support you no matter what. You got to make the decision, and whatever happens, you got to deal with it. So I wish that my friend, the girl, I'll just call her Star. I wish that Star basically would have told me what Shayna was telling me. I wish she would have been that kind of friend. Because if you notice, at that point in time, I was kind of not wanting to listen to her. I was kind of fighting her on it. Like that's not. When when she told me that I was going to end up like her grandmother, I'm like, that's not But I'm not destined to be like somebody else because they made a decision. Like, I'm not that person. I'm not her fucking grandmother that's going to end up in that situation. I'm not that person. So, I was fighting on it because that's ultimately what she wanted me to do was not what I wanted to do. And where Shayna, she wants me to do what I want to do and deal with it the way I need to deal with it. Straight up. There you go.
Kurtz, was there ever a point where you wanted to kind of get in there and play matchmaker or try and play therapist, so to speak? I mean, was it hard to remain objective and not get yourself involved in their relationship?
No, not really, because there's a natural distance that happens with the camera. I'm a big fan. I love studying the history of war and warfare and military photography and things like that. And one of the things that's so common is not to compare the relationship to a battlefield. There were
Pat Benatar would disagree with that.
Well, how the camera is a natural shield. You forget that. And that was what was so strange for me, is because there were times I was drawn really in, but I didn't want to say anything, and there were times that I was pulled back because of the camera. So it was like this bizarre ballet. And I think a lot of it, first of all, was the human emotion that I was witnessing, and second of all, it's because of the similarity of my experience that I just went through just months ago. And I basically there were times where I was sitting here going, I feel like there are two gay men standing before me reciting the exact same words I just said 6 months ago. And it was just really pretty intense. There were times like that. And so when that would happen, I would focus on the camera. And the camera is a real stabilizer for me. Because when whatever's going on, you just focus on that, and you suddenly feel you feel a lot better. So I looked at it and I didn't want to make any changes. What you see is 100% real.
There's no script.
Yeah, no script, no interruption, no bullshit. It's the real fucking thing. It was grab the camera, hit record, and go. There were times that, excuse me, I was working full time at the time. And there were times that John would text me. He'd be like, I just got some footage. You need to see it, and you need to use it. I said, okay. And we'd meet at Starbucks, grab the footage, and it was like, I felt like Richard Burton from Spy Who Came In From the Cold. It was like this whole espionage, like, give me the info, race home. And I'm like, oh, shit. Okay, great. All right, I'll put that in there. So it was, that's kind of how it all laid out.
John, when you saw the final cut of it, what was your reaction to seeing it?
I could barely watch it. And there's a couple places that it's actually going to be previewed at in Dallas. Well, JR's one of them for sure. There's a couple places that I've written back, but we don't know about that for sure. But JR's definitely for sure. And I'm going to have to watch it again there. I have not watched it in about maybe 3 weeks. And I can't. I just can't see it. But my reaction to it just brought back all those emotions that I was feeling at the time, and it definitely created some more resentment, and it was kind of why the fuck could we not work it out? Why the fuck was he so goddamn stubborn and so negative all the time and can't let things go? And, I wish he was here. I wish we could get him to talk about this too, but I don't think he has anything to do with the film anymore, but I just keep him updated about it. But it was just kind of I looked at areas of it where I'm like, if we could have just talked about it differently, did things differently, I felt like it could have worked. And so it brings back the emotions of love. I truly, absolutely fucking loved him to go through all that. I guess my reaction was, I realized that I love this man so much, but at the same time, it wasn't fair to either of us to go through that, and we needed to go our separate ways.
Probably the most important question, how's the dog?
Which one? Which one?
I only saw one of them, but I remember.
There are two dogs. Ollie is the little Yorkie, and Dakota. Ollie is Daniel's dog. Dakota is the Jack Russell Greyhound, which is probably the one that you're talking about, which is my dog. I've got him on a diet because Daniel would always feed him pizza. He would just spoil that dog. And so I finally got him on a diet, and he's doing good. I do have to walk him up when I go to work, but when I get home, I take him out, and he's happy. He's doing so much better. Whenever we first broke up, and it was just me and him, there were times where he wouldn't come out from under the bed all day. And so he's finally outside of the bed, playing around, doing his thing. He's old Dakota again. He's what I remembered when I got him. So he's good.
I'd say there was probably one scene that, if I could have added an outtake to the film, would have been when I was on the floor trying to shoot from a low angle, and he started to hump my leg. And I could feel this pound, 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 pound on my leg. I was like, I think that's a dick hitting my leg. I was like trying to hold the laughter in. And I was like, cut, stop, everything stop, wait, I can't film. I really tried. I was like, I filmed through some pretty extreme situations, but I'm sorry, but a dick slammed against my leg. I gotta stop right there. I can't do that there.
Yeah, they don't teach you how to deal with leg humping in film school.
Yeah. And on that note, fuck film school. I hate those.
You know what?
You're right, though.
As soon as I said film school, I thought, you know what? I shouldn't have said that because I know he wouldn't have gone to film school.
Yeah, I got kicked out of art school at SMU after like 2 months. So yeah, schools can kiss my ass. They just try to make you conform to their ideal. I mean, you either have it or you don't. And I'm not saying that I do have it, but I'd rather just have my own vision. And if it works, it works for people. It doesn't, it doesn't, And some people have thought my work brilliant and this should be in a museum. And I've had other people say it's absolute shit and trash and should be thrown away and deleted. And so, I take each with a grain of salt. So it's all good. But,
well, and something to keep in mind, David Cronenberg never went to film school.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Hitchcock never won an Oscar. So those my two heroes, Cronenberg and Hitchcock, and David Lynch, who's also a huge influence. So.
Yeah. Well, and I told you I've been doing articles on Lynch, and I have a question about that. A little off topic from the movie. Now that David Lynch is no longer going to direct the Twin Peaks, the new series that's supposed to come out next year, how do you feel about that?
I read about that on Facebook, and my first thought is absolute disappointment because Lynch to me is just an absolute genius. But at the same time, I noticed that he had pulled out because they were talking about budget issues. They couldn't do it in the way that he wanted, which means to me that the network just was like, well, we don't think this is going to work, so here's your budget. It's like, here's a coupon and here's your budget. It's like, yeah, well, I'm David fucking Lynch. I'm not going to do this on that kind of a level. So I'd rather have him have a total power, total vision of what he wants to create, as I feel with any director, kid fresh out of film school to whoever. I mean, as long as they can create according to their own vision, that's what's essential. And I would rather Lynch not be a part of it and be able to say, you know what, I can't make it the way I want, so I'm walking away, than have him be a part of it and then later apologize going, yeah, real sorry about this, guys. This is not what I had in mind. That a filmmaker, a painter, an artist, a photographer, a writer should never have to say that, because that's just disappointing. And so I'd rather just the whole project walk away, disappear, than have it be half-assed and not what he envisioned.
Well, and that's a good way to look at all of our creative projects. Not compromise.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't give a fuck about like being famous or making a shit ton of money. I don't give a fuck about living in LA and having a pool with my within the shape of my name and having maids to give me morning blowjobs. I don't give a shit. I don't give a damn. I mean, if I'm gutter punk, if I'm a gutter punk filmmaker for the rest of my life, and I die poor, that's how it is. I don't give a rat's ass.
Yeah, well, the morning blowjobs sound good, though.
Well, yeah, shit, that was great. How was your day? Well, shit, I've been up for an hour and I got a blowjob. So what do you think?
But yeah, sounds good. I think everybody loves those. But no, I mean that's why it's kind of like when I was a musician and I played in bands. I played drums for years and I was a DJ. And it's like, oh, dude, we're gonna get signed. It's gonna be so great. It's like then you're a fucking slave. Some asshole executive is going to sit there and be like, your last album was good, but it could be a lot better if you did this. It's like, fuck you. You're not in the trenches with me. You don't know my shit. You don't know what I'm creating. So that's how I see with film. Fuck the Academy Awards. Fuck Cannes Film Festival. I don't give a fuck about those assholes. You want to give me an award? Great. I'll accept it, and I'll be very proud of it. But I'm not going to change my vision. If someone gave me $1 million and said, I want you to shoot this film, and I want you to do it like this, I'd give back $999,000 and spend the rest on hookers and blow and say, fuck you, I'm going to do it my way. I'm like, I don't give a damn. But, that's my philosophy. I was born and raised on opera and punk rock, so that's how it is.
Jon, one last question for you.
Yeah.
What do you want people to know about you and Daniel? What's the one thing that you want them to take away from seeing this movie?
That's a good question, too.
These have all been awesome questions, by the way. I'm not kissing your ass, man. Seriously, these are, really good. Because sometimes people are like, the usual, what do you like for breakfast? Oh, come on, give me a break. No, these are good. But, no, not almost, but every question, I'm like, oh, that's a damn good question.
Yeah, you're definitely making me think and having to go places.
Yeah, this is good. I like it. Yeah, if you can make either of us go, shit, wait, hold on. Then, yeah, that's a good thing.
Repeat the question. Oh, what do I want people to take away from it?
Yes.
Watching the film. Okay. I guess really what I want people to take away is to let people know that are in similar relationships, family members dying and spouses that are alcoholics, and you end up getting wrapped into that also. I guess I want people to take away that ultimately love is probably one of the hardest but yet rewarding things that you can be in life and do in your life. To be in love, it's just you learn so much about yourself, and I really want people to understand, they're not alone when it comes to having a rocky relationship. And at the end of the day, when you're having a rough relationship, there are decisions that have to be made, and you need to take the initiative to make that decision, and whatever that decision may be, learn from it and grow from it, and make sure that you basically make the right decision. So definitely mine and Daniel's love story was definitely one of my favorite love stories that I've been in, and it taught me a lot about myself, and I just really want people to relate to the relationship. I want them to understand that everybody goes through a rocky relationship, but at the end of the day, you got to make a decision.
And I think that was really important for me as well. Capturing that and putting that on film is because, I want people from all walks of life, from the full spectrum of wherever they are. And Daniel said it best when he talked about the Kinsey scale. And wherever you are on that Kinsey scale, which that's something that's really stuck with me since then, because I've often questioned myself when it comes to that scale, not knowing where it goes exactly. But, you look at that whole scale and you just go, no matter who you are, you can relate to this. Mm-hmm. You can relate to this kind of film in that sense, and that's what's really important to me, is gay, straight, bi, trans, asexual, wherever you are, pardon me, from that full spectrum. I want people to be able to watch that and for them to go, holy shit, I'm not a gay guy, but I'm a straight woman, and I can, watch this and go, crap, I know exactly how that feels because my boyfriend and I just went through that. Or I just lost a parent and my partner was like this or was not like this. And that's really important. And, even though I went through that kind of very short period of feeling like a paparazzi TMZ piece of shit, to quote myself, I think at the end, it's important that people realize the humanity in it all, because it's really a struggle out there. And once you realize the importance of love, we all want to be loved. We all want to be loved, and we all want to love. We're hardwired for that, and that's what's important. That's the most important thing of all. Is in the end that we just want to feel that tenderness wherever it comes from. Someone older, someone younger, someone new, someone old, whatever it is. That's how it is.
And
I concur.
where can people see Candid Love, Kurtz?
Probably. Well, right now we're trying to. We're talking to SMU, Southern Methodist University, which is located here in Dallas, my alma mater. They're going to be showing it at the start of the fall semester. Their LGBT student group is going to be showing it one of their movie nights. But probably and then we're also going to show it at JR's Bar and Grill, which is located right in Oak Lawn in the neighborhood, as we call it. We're doing that at the end of April. But probably the easiest way for them to see it would be they could go to my website. It's Frausun, FRAUSUN.com. And right there on the top menu, you'll see Candid Love, and they can go there and they can watch the whole film.
Good enough, and we'll have a link on the show page for that, so they can go there and watch it.
And we love feedback, and if people like it, don't like it, well, I listen to everyone. I reply to all the emails and all the comments personally. So whatever people have to say about it, they're no sacred cows. Just bring it out. And I talked to a good friend of mine who's huge into documentaries, and I said, "So what did you think?" And he said, "I absolutely loved it." He goes, "But at the end, I felt drained and overwhelmed, and I had no idea what to feel because I just wanted it to end." And I was like, "That's probably one of the coolest reviews I could have asked for." So yeah, I mean, it's all good. We love feedback, and whatever. We just want to share the story. That's important.
Yeah, I think after I finished watching it, my main reaction was I just wanted to give Jon a hug.
Imagine me. I was there behind the camera going like,
yeah.
Cut so I can hug everyone, and we could just laugh, talk, and smoke a bowl. And
I needed a hug. For sure.
Yeah, there were definitely times I left shooting where I was like threw the camera on the front seat, like done for the day. Fucking nobody. The phone is off. No internet. Goodbye. I need a breather. So where's the hookers and blow?
Oh my God! Imagine it though. Living like that for 8 months every day, and that's not that what we captured our film ain't even the fucking system.
Yeah, that was 2 weeks.
And it's been like that for 8 months, and there were times where it was even more fucked up than what you saw in film.
I went through that for almost 10 years, so
wow.
Yeah, that's why I'm bald. I lost all my hair through that fucking relationship.
Yeah, that's 10 years. That's heavy. That's a lot.
Some of us learn slower than others.
That's what I've realized as well in my life.
I guess I'll take that as a compliment.
Thank you.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed having you on, and Jon, especially, I want to thank you for coming on. I wasn't expecting you, so all the questions that I had prepared for Kurtz went out the window, and I flew by the seat of my pants.
Hey, you did a great job. No, that's totally cool, gang. It's all good.
Thank you. I enjoyed it also, for sure.
And we'll have, as I said, links in the show page where you can find out more information about Kurtz and his work, and as well as the usual social media links. And if you enjoyed the Imaginarium, check out our other shows on the Supernauts Network at thesupernauts.com. And until next time, may all your journeys be filled with pure imagination.